So this bike path goes right past Fanshawe, and I'm kicking it in high gear because I need to get there to my destination, the plumbing store, in like half an hour. So I feel like the bike lanes in this case on this road are pretty justifiable because it's right next to a college where students live nearby and they can just walk to campus. And that's important because the parking lot here is already so big that they don't need any more students coming by car, because driving is expensive. So they try to deter that with higher expense or higher cost of parking. And the higher cost of parking is good, but at the same time, so like it deters people from driving, but the cost of ownership of cars is already really high. So it's interesting because to me, it actually, when I went to Fanshawe and I studied there, I chose to take the bus and bike because it was so expensive. I occasionally would take my parents' car. I think I did it 3 times over the course of 2 years. So the extra cost really does change how you get around. Like it factors in, especially when you're a poor college student. So a fun thing with bicycles is that even though the road is closed, you can see this other guy on the other side of the road here. He's biking. And he's an older guy with an e-bike. Yeah, the gist is you, as a cyclist, can go places that cars can't. It's kind of freeing. It's the freedom that car ads suggest, but really you get that freedom from bicycles and e-bikes. It's great. All right, I'm gonna slow down and make sure that this is rolling, and we're going to go through this construction zone because we can. So I might take the sidewalk because it looks nice and clean. I can see why through traffic for vehicles is suspended here or limited to local use, because this is kind of dangerous for vehicles. But I was able to get through, which is pretty awesome. So this is one of the instances as well where I have an e-bike. I'm basically topping out at 32 kilometers an hour, and I'm kind of just keeping at that pace the entire time because I need to get somewhere quickly. And I'm not dressed in anything crazy. I'm just dressed in regular clothes. And I'm taking these bike lanes, which during the winter should be cleared, because I made a video about that, how right in this case there was a really close pass because I was in the right tire track of a truck, and they did not give me enough room, and there was an oncoming like car just like right there, that SUV coming, and woo, like he just went right past as if he owned the road, which is not the case. I mean, I hope that's obvious. But the intersection coming up here is one of my favorites. It is protected. Not everyone uses it, like that guy over there on the bike, but I'm gonna make a right turn, and it is very nice. It's near a school zone. And that's important because if you have kids that can't bike to school, that just causes enormous amounts of traffic, as we see in these crazy schools. I mean, these are crazy situations to me, where parents have to drop off their car, and I've actually seen it in comments on Reddit and stuff, where parents who walk their kids to school have Child Protective Services called on them because it's endangering the student, which is actually insane, because that's a very healthy, natural thing for students to do up until you have the dangers of cars involved. And then as long as you have sidewalks, it's still fine. It's not dangerous compared to having more vehicles on the road. Like, just by me doing the biking here, it shows people that the bike lanes are being used. And that's important, because you always have these people saying that the bike lanes are not being used. Then you have traffic lining up, and it's like, hey, why don't you become one of the people using the bike lanes? Let me just rant for a second here, but when I hear that, well, I can't. And you know what? That's sometimes very justifiable. Just paying attention to traffic. But yeah, not everyone can switch over to a bike. That's totally fine. But the point that all of these people, including me, are making is that when you introduce safe protected infrastructure, which is not this, it kind of ends, and debatably this is a lower traffic area, which, I don't know, this doesn't feel all that low traffic to me. It is a lower speed, but does not seem low traffic. It seems like a throughfare. But anyways, so the thing that all these people with bike lanes and stuff, including me, are saying is that people who commute under 10 kilometers, maybe under 7 kilometers, 6, but some people only commute a few kilometers, and yet they are essentially forced to drive because they don't have a safe, accessible route by any other means. And that's all across North America. Debatably, London is actually getting really awesome at providing these bike routes. Like this paint here, this I would say is kind of a lower speed road, even though I think it's marked as 50. Like, oh, it's so tough, because if roads like this exist and they are not protected, then what you have is this bike infrastructure that technically marks or checks off the box of cyclists dedicated. And it's like, okay, but would you put your 6-year-old, there's the thing, so would you put your 8-year-old on this bike lane? And if the answer is no, or your 80-year-old grandmother, would you put her on this bike lane? If the answer is no, then it's not adequate. I heard this said recently at a panel for the Safe Streets Project, and shoot, what was I gonna say? I'm looking at that bollard thing in the middle here. It's supposed to reduce the speed of traffic, and it's knocked over because someone knocked it over with their car. But yeah, there was a panel, and they were discussing the safety of roads, and 8 to 80 came up, and it's to do with all ages and abilities, because if you are on this road, like I was saying earlier, and your 8-year-old or your 80-year-old person in your life doesn't feel comfortable on this road, then what you have is infrastructure that can be said is, oh, this is bike safe. And why aren't people using this? Because it's not safe. People aren't going to be biking on it. They're going to be on the sidewalk. And then people complain that the bike lanes aren't being used. It's because the bike lanes were never in the first place safe to use. It's really important. And then it's used as an excuse to not install more bike lanes because the usage is low, when in reality, the usage of really good bike lanes is pretty high. It's just that there are so many bad bike lanes that people don't use them. Like, look at all this crud on the ground. And these tracks, I know someone, Haley, who goes over these for work every day. And we visited her one point, and she's south of the track, so I'm approaching her neighborhood approximately, and look at all this crud on here. We were there visiting one night. I remember, I think it was 2 Octobers ago. So a little bit chilly. We were like, cool, let's get home fast. So we go over the train tracks. We get home and realize one of our panniers fell off. I'm just checking now if I have mine, but mine's nice and secure. But our grocery pannier, which we really liked, it's gone. So we haven't gotten another one because we have a bunch of alternatives. But let's move over to how traffic is here. So this is along Egerton Avenue. I think it's Egerton Avenue. Let's see, this road sign. Egerton Street. Whoops. And you can see that traffic is backed up, but the bike lane is open. And so you have these people who have to drive, and they're clogged up by all the people who are forced to drive. And that's just not good because you get even more traffic. But in this case, actually, in this case, it's nice and safe because there is so much traffic, which, if you make a case for New York City, is actually kind of interesting. Because if there's so much traffic that it's gridlocked, then you have, traffic that's not moving. Then you just have to wait. Then you have to watch for people turning left and right and pulling out suddenly into bike lanes and stuff, or at intersections. But otherwise, you are pretty good to go. You're pretty safe because the vehicles themselves that are large, metal, heavy, four-wheeled death machines are not moving all that fast. And so you can pass them safely. Now, this intersection is really weird. It's a really weird intersection that probably should be turned into a roundabout because it's not about it being 4 lanes versus 2 lanes or anything. It's just about it being a confusing signalized intersection. It should just be designalized and turned into a roundabout. There's enough space around it. And I'm sure there's a reason they haven't done it, but it would alleviate a lot of the collisions that happen because people get so confused because it is confusing. It's you're turning left, and it's like, wait, am I going the wrong way? Or then you go into the wrong place and stuff. Yeah, it's kind of bonkers. So back over to this bike lane on Egerton, we're still headed this way. This is nice and all, but then people say, oh, people aren't biking on it. Well, if we wait a few moments, it's about to spit us out into a not friendly roadway where I am going downhill right now, going 43 kilometers an hour, and cars are still blasting past me. Because look at this, there's going to be a bike lane end sign right here, right as we go over this bridge. There's no other place to go. I'm going to merge like I'm supposed to, taking the lane, and this car is on the other side of the road now. And they should have slowed down and let me take the lane. They did not. And then there's people here who can't use the sidewalk because there is no sidewalk. Check to see where I am relative to where I need to be. In other news, I don't know if I'm gonna make it. Oh no, I am. Cool. I need to go left on Major Street, whatever that is. So those hills, the one that I just went over, the very interesting thing is people assume that I got an e-bike because, I don't know, I'm lazy or something, and it's only for old people. No, it's not. It's really nice to be able to hop on your bike on a windy day like this and be able to actually hit the speeds that you're supposed to get there on time. So it's more about reliability than anything else, because there's a huge headwind right now, and I definitely can feel it, and the bike is helping me a lot. I'm on mode 3 or 4 throughout this whole trip because there's a strong headwind. On the way back, I'm not even guaranteed a tailwind because that's not how weather works. But here's an example of how it's really efficient to be the other mode of transportation, because we have everyone using one mode of transportation, and I can zip by and reduce congestion. And if other people did that too, then there would be a lot less congestion. Then you get to the point where it's up here, and I need to somehow make a left. I'm gonna have to check my phone or something, or go on the sidewalk. There's no way I'm biking on Adelaide Street like Google Maps is suggesting. So I'm gonna walk. And here we have an example of someone just in a crosswalk because they don't know how to drive. And because I didn't hit the bag signal, the hand didn't go. So I had to go off of the original green lights for the cars instead of the lights for pedestrians. Yeah, it's this is the part of London that's like, oof. But the problem is this is a very very important thoroughfare for anyone living around the city. Like, you need to connect a nice grid to the rest of the city. You can't just have the 15-minute cities, which is fine. It's good. It's actually, it's really good if you have the 15-minute cities, because at least then it reduces traffic locally and everywhere, because people pass through other burbs and suburbs and other parts of the city. But this is inadequate infrastructure, especially for something where I need to get to another point in the city. Nope, you're just gonna have to go on the sidewalk, because technically this is illegal. And everyone says, why don't you go on the sidewalk? Guess what? I am going on the sidewalk, and it's dangerous because vehicles, if they're turning, they're not expecting, oh, there's a cop. There's, so another cop, and it would be absolutely insane for me to be on the road right now. And that's why the cops are totally fine with, especially on roads like this, people biking on sidewalks. It's just the way things have been for so long, and it needs to change. And a bunch of other people, I'm almost at my destination, a bunch of other people will say, well, there's no one on the sidewalk, just bike. Well, there's occasionally a bunch of people on the sidewalk. It's just that, not right now. Like, would you walk here? No? There's nothing here. There's no place. It's just a pass-through business area. And it sucks. It's not great. And now, let's go with the final thing here. I need to cross the road. Okay. Now I have to park somewhere. I'm gonna actually just walk in as I have a deadline. The guy's gonna leave soon, so here's how I handle just walking in. I'm gonna take off my UV arm layers instead of having to use a bunch of sunscreen, and I'm gonna go in. All right, let's do this. Hi. Back for that part. Potentially. I don't know. The vacuum breaker. So we successfully were able to do an errand that would have otherwise took like a 2-ton metal death machine to go across London. We skipped traffic. We actually got here really, really quick versus, I don't know, if we had driven maybe about the same time, but a lot of just sitting in traffic, adding to congestion. And if everyone does that, then you get a huge amount of congestion. That's how that works. So this is why I bike. Okay. Back, and this is what I mean about people on sidewalks. This is totally fine. They're supposed to be on the sidewalk, but sorry. Oh no, it's all good. And so you have just confrontation that shouldn't happen. It's irritating to have that when there could be a separate bike lane. Also, people assume when you're biking on the sidewalk, you're going like slow, but I'm currently going 30 kilometers an hour. That is pretty quick. So it's just different modes of transportation should have different infrastructure, and it's not like hugely incompatible with cities. It's actually how cities used to be. Also, I mentioned it earlier, I'll say it again though. Every single turn I have to look back and make sure a car's not gonna mow me over, or a driver. And then here, okay, so I'm at 32 kilometers an hour. Now I have to come to a close. Sorry, not come to a close, but slow down. Make sure they see, and then there's another person here. So whoever says there are not people are wrong, because there are definitely people using the sidewalk. Sorry. And that's really irritating to have to slow down every single time. But I get why people are on the sidewalk when there are not good options otherwise. Which is the case here. The only option that is safe here is to either be taking the lane, and then you run the risk of being mowed over by drivers that are irritated that they can't race to the red light fast enough, or you go on the sidewalk. And that would have been a situation there, is if I was crossing that bike, oh, there's another. We have bike lanes, but they're painted and not protected, so that person was on the sidewalk because they don't feel comfortable. That's pretty much like comfortable on the painted bike lanes. That's pretty much an indicator species there, along with women on bikes and kids on bikes. If you don't see those in your city has pretty rubbish infrastructure. because males have a higher risk tolerance, and that's just a fact. And if you don't see kids and women out there, you don't have adequate infrastructure, and the culture of biking is not there. You know about the culture thing? It's kind of like how if you go to Tokyo, there's tourists that will rent a car while they're there when there are so many better options, and it's laughable. Like, people get laughed at when Americans go to Japan or something, Tokyo, etc., and then they rent a car. It's like, why are you doing that? Just take a train. So it's actually a shift in the mind. We already know that, but in culture as well. And one of my favorite things about this bike is that I've been able to use it for so many different things. I'm looking at the mileage on it right now as I was turning down to 0, because, you know, I'm going down a hill and don't need to waste any energy, because I'm hitting like 36 kilometers an hour without pedaling, and I'm not without anything else. But I have 10,428 kilometers on this bike. That's pretty cool. All right, let's see what happens in this situation. Theoretically, they should wait, but I highly doubt. Oh, thank you. Sick. They actually slowed down and let me go. That does not happen very often. And then drivers here, gonna crank up to number 4 on pedal assist, maybe number 5. So there's a truck behind me about to eat my butt and trying to pass. So that's where I went on number 5. Now I can go on the bike lane, but if I didn't have an e-bike, then how was I supposed to be able to speed up and avoid that? So debatably, you might say that e-bikes actually are a safer mode of transportation when you don't have good enough infrastructure, because you can speed your way out of otherwise dangerous or deadly situations. Not that they should happen, but you can get out of the road faster when you can go faster. So in that case, I was again topping out at 32 kilometers an hour. And as I said earlier, on the way there, I was not guaranteed a tailwind. And of course I don't have one. It is very windy in the opposite direction now. So I have a headwind again. Yep. Coming up to this Egerton Street mess. And then there is this weird merge here that spits you out into traffic. And that's where I crank up to number 5. And this person next to me decided that it's a great idea to floor it as well. So at least now, oh, and then people are going through reds, right? So here we have a train coming up, and that bike lane back there was very weird because it drops out, then cuts out, and then cuts in. And that just isn't safe because people feel as though they have to go on the sidewalk and then they pull out onto the intersection if they're on bikes and don't feel comfortable. Or you have what happened there. Oh God, there's a bunch of glass here. Jesus Christ, I think I might have just popped all my tires. Oh, I hope that didn't happen. I'm gonna have to get home as fast as I can. Or I'm gonna pull over and gonna just check my wheels in case I can save them. Glass, not that you can see that, but yeah, I'm just kind of rubbing my hand against all the tires here, going in a circle backwards because I don't want a flat, especially a flat back tire. It sucks. Okay, now we're gonna do the same with the front. So you might actually notice that I have UV protecting things on. This is so I don't have to put sunscreen all over my arms. They actually only go up to right here. So they're just like armbands. So anyways, I'm gonna get back to feeling the tire, making sure there's no glass in them. Okay, I gotta get going. I can't tell if I hear a minor leak or not. I really hope not, because that was a pile of glass, which sucks. Over the bumpy train tracks we go. It's funny because like the big trucks like that, they just plow through these and then have to pay a lot more for their repairs. And repairs on trucks are more expensive than lighter vehicles, if you didn't know. That's why if you do not need a truck, it doesn't matter about the gas mileage. Okay, it does, but there's all the other expensive components aside from the capital cost of a truck. Like, they're incredibly expensive to maintain as well because the parts are like heavy duty and that costs money. Meanwhile, whoop. My chain's almost falling off, may have to fix that. What the heck? Why? Why is that happening? Okay, I fixed my chain, that's great. I have to index my gears. That happened. Anyway, the cost of trucks is not just like the capital costs. It's like, oh yeah, I can finance this thing for a huge like amount of interest that you're paying into. So you're not even paying for the truck. You're just paying interest on something you do not own until, I don't know, you waste so much money. You buy like an $80,000 truck because you need to go to an office job. Why? Every single time you're driving it to an office, you are depreciating it, like the amount of kilometers that you put on it. Hey, another bicyclist. Problem with this lane is it's so bloody dirty because there's so many industrial things around here and they don't clean this enough, so that sucks. But yeah, anyway, I try to put as many kilometers on my bike as possible because those kilometers are then not going on our car. And same with Natalia. I went across the city to do my errands, and Natalia went off on her bike to get some groceries. And the crazy thing is that we don't use our car all that often. We already know that, but If you're able to leave it in the driveway more, it saves you more. Maintenance costs are, well, less. And I'm gonna watch this guy here with his turning. Now here, okay, whew, thought that SUV was turning. But yeah, the longer a car sits, the only downside is we brought it to the mechanic after maybe about a year and a half, or wait, no, a year, because we needed an oil change and a checkup. Problem was that the rotors, the brake rotors, have started falling apart because they've been sitting for so long. We try to drive the car every at least 2 weeks, and that happens in the winter. Usually it's about once per week in the winter. But it still sits there, and everything, there's even room on the rotors still. He said, oh, like if you're driving in the city, it's probably fine, but if you go outside of the city, which is when we put our kilometers on our car, because that's when we need to drive, because we don't have adequate intercity travel options other than to drive, which sucks. That's a whole other thing that I could yammer about, but we probably need to do our rotors, even though everything else, including the brake pads, is just fine. Like, the car is mint, minus the rotors. And so he knew exactly what was what. He's like, how many kilometers do you typically put on? Not a lot, right? I'm like, nope. Obviously, it's a 2016 Elantra GT with about 68,000 kilometers. Yep. Here's a loud vehicle. I was wearing earplugs on the way there, but I am not wearing earplugs now. Oh, this person's hopefully not gonna run into me. Also, those bumps are just killer. We have seat posts from Redshift. They're these shock stoppers, and I have to say, they are amazing, because that right there was a nice bump. That was a fairly good bump, but a lot of the protected in boulevard cycling facilities, which are the ones not like this, but the ones over on the sidewalk, like next to the sidewalk, that have a big curb and not just these concrete things that can move. Those, like on Cheapside heading east, I don't know if you saw that short from a while ago, they're like fully protected now, it's great. But oh man, the amount of bumpification is not great. Not great at all. So I'm gonna go ahead and use this intersection as intended. Normally, because I'm fairly confident, I would go into the left lane and turn left like a vehicle would, like a driver would. But instead, I'm gonna go like this. I'm gonna go across. Let's see if it changes. Yep, it changed. So at first, with those protected intersections, people were complaining, and guess what? They're pretty permanent, and people have gotten over it. The wide turns allow for slower turns, and for those who are turning to see what's in front of them. So there's that, because there's a lot of right hooks and left hooks that happen, but primarily those right hooks with those kidney bean shaped built up protection. They're on boulevards. The protective thingies. They cause drivers to slow down because you don't want to hurt your car when you turn, which is great, because you both don't want to hurt your car and you don't want to hurt people. But people somehow, as humans, outside of cars, get the short end of the stick, and people don't care about them. Yeah, so there was no bike lane that was painted before, even just a year ago, and then they added this, and honestly, it is just paint. It is a good step forward. we use it all the time. It's pretty good. All right. Over to our closed road that I may or may not be able to get through this time. We'll see. Yep. I think that is the cool, awesome amount of freedom that you have on a bike to just go around obstacles. It's pretty cool. Yeah, you don't get to do that with a car. You have a lot of restrictions in a car. Now, I realize I'm on the wrong side of the road at this point. Luckily, there are no cars. There's a human there. I might just go off so I don't disturb them. All right, here we go, boop and boop. All right. There's another cyclist, or people saying there's no cyclists. Oh, it's starting to rain. That car is gonna do a U-E. And yeah, I'm getting a few water droplets on me, even though it's got clear skies. Oh, I could go on about that. Yeah, you know what? That's the next thing I'll go off on. Weather. It was kind of hot. Now it's kind of cool. And it is just interesting to me how people are so against weather. Like, they want their comfort. That's fine. But at what cost? Like, you don't need to always not get wet. You can wear a jacket or plan around the weather and the weather conditions. If it's hot, go in the afternoon or the evening or the morning. Or, because commutes are not usually that long, just suck it up on the way back. On the way to work, that's pretty much the only time when a commute's weather matters, because on the way back, you just suck it up and take a shower when you get back. Even if you get fully saturated, as long as the stuff that you're bringing, like, I don't know, a laptop or other things are fine, then it doesn't matter about you. And it doesn't matter that you get soaking wet, because you just get home and take a shower or something. But on the way to work, you have the issue of looking presentable, so I get that. But again, you can dress for it, and you can take a few moments, you get your cardio in, you get everything in, and then you take a few moments once you get to work to prep yourself and get ready. I used to do that when I worked across the city, and I took a road bike. My dad's in a Shiki road bike, 10 speed probably, I don't know. Had suicide shifters and stuff. And also, I'm being peppered with water, and it's sunny. It's kind of bonkers. There's a cloud directly above me, and it's just spitting at me. Anyway, I took that for a 15-kilometer trip every day for, like, I think a month of commuting. Cleaning off the lens. Anyways, for like a month of commuting, and it was fine. I would get to work. I was super sweaty because I did not have an e-bike at this time. It was 2015, I think. And e-bikes were not as accessible as they are now. And so like an e-bike would have been perfect for that situation. And a proper rack, no wait, I did have a proper rack on that one, but it just is very interesting because my car blew out its transmission, and it was kind of how I started biking. Well, it's just a way to get around. Also, I don't know if you're seeing this. It is raining and it's sunny. What the hell? Oh my goodness. This is kind of actually fun. I am totally fine with this because I'm almost home, I did say this a few moments ago, just when you are on your way back, it doesn't really matter. On your way out kind of matters, but in this case, it's nice and hot, so this is pretty refreshing. Only thing is, I might get the GoPro wet, the lens, have to wipe it off. Oh, you might be wondering why you can't see my handlebars for this trip. I decided to smack it on my e-bike, under my handlebars, because I don't really like wearing the chest strap, because it's really annoying. And just, it ruins my look. I'm actually kind of serious about that, because the final bit I'll talk about is presentation when biking. And I was very hesitant to wear like the spandex arms, because we don't have anything else that is spandex, because we don't need it. We just need clothing, because that's all you need to bike is, well, whatever you normally wear. That's how it should be for utility biking. And I don't want people thinking that I have special gear, because I don't. I mean, the arm things are new, because I'm like, hey, I can use less sunscreen. So I got a pack of 5 from Amazon, and now Natalia uses them occasionally, not often, but I feel like I do further trips, like across the city. And when I do, because now it's nice and sunny, I don't want to burn my arms. That happened in Thailand when we were on a motorbike, and yeah, that was not a nice burn. So there we go. That was a rain shower. A sun shower, I think it's called. But yeah, no, it's perfectly fine. Oh, funny thing, so my arms are totally like polka dotted right now because of the rain. And it looks really funny. If it doesn't dry up from the wind and me biking, I will show you in just a moment. Well, I'll pull it off in like 2 minutes. So then there's this. Every single time I get across the road, this intersection, I have to pretty much dangerously merge into traffic. Now, this is a neighborhood, but people still whip around here because it's such a wide road. So I'll head over to a park here, and I'll show you the polka dots before they dry up. It's kind of funny. Also, anyone commenting that yes, I'm far into the lane, it's so that drivers have to carefully pass me. And even up there, this guy sped past me and there's kids crossing, so. And now I'm gonna signal left. Slow down. I just like waved at that person to slow down, because people don't understand that driving in a neighborhood is supposed to be like 40, even though it's 50. No, it's actually a 40 zone here, and people are driving like 60 down the road. I hate it. All right. Let me show you the polka dots real quick. Polka dots. They're almost dry. So like a lot of people misunderstand when you get wet. Like I got wet, I got rained on, and this is only like 5 minutes later, and this is almost dry. I'm gonna take this off now because that's that. But yeah, it's like, I'm almost dry. Like if you're biking, you'll probably sweat more than you get wet from rain. But with an e-bike, you kind of get the best of all of the worlds, which is you don't get too sweaty. So it's more of a mode of transportation rather than for sport. which is exactly what we use bikes for, Natalia and I, for transportation. So yeah, thank you for sticking this far. If you are still watching, oh my goodness, thanks a ton. I was thinking this is just going to be like slow TV, and for people who want to see which routes I take and how I take them and the things that go on while I ride, this is why I'm doing this.